The night was heavy with silence, an eerie kind that made even the insects hide. Clouds drifted slowly across the sky, parting only enough to reveal the blood moon, deep red, ominous, and uncomfortably large. It seemed to watch over the small, isolated village as if it were an eye looking down, unblinking and full of malice. The villagers knew this night was different. Generations had passed down warnings about what happened during the blood moon. Mothers whispered to their children not to stray from home. Fathers secured every door and window, and elders muttered prayers under their breath. They all spoke of the same legend, that on the blood moon, something ancient awoke. Something that once fed on them centuries ago and would rise again when the time was right. At the edge of the village stood the old mansion, long abandoned, swallowed by ivy and shadow. Nobody went near it anymore. The locals said its walls were cursed, its halls echoing with the screams of those who had entered but never returned. Its windows were shattered and hollow, resembling empty eye sockets that stared into the night. Yet on this night, the mansion felt alive. A faint red glow seemed to pulse from within, in rhythm with the blood moon above. Beneath the mansion, in a forgotten crypt, lay a coffin covered in centuries of dust. The lid, carved with strange symbols no one could recognize, began to tremble. With a slow, grinding sound, it shifted open. From inside rose a cold mist, and with it, the scent of old earth and death. A pale hand reached out, its fingers long and claw-like, dragging the lid fully aside. Inside, a figure stirred. His skin was white as bone, stretched tight over sharp features. His lips, though darkened, curled into a faint, predatory smile. For centuries he had slumbered, waiting for the sky to bleed red once again. His eyes snapped open, black, endless, and hungry. He was awake, and he was thirsty. Meanwhile, in the village, a young man named Elias sat in his home, restless. Unlike the others, he was skeptical of the stories. He had grown up hearing the elders' tales about vampires and curses, but he believed them to be nothing more than myths to control fear. To him, the mansion was not haunted. It was simply a relic, an abandoned building filled with dust and broken wood. And tonight, curiosity tugged at him harder than fear ever could. With a lantern in hand and a foolish sense of bravery, Elias slipped out into the night. The streets were empty, the houses dark, every curtain drawn. He could feel the weight of the silence pressing down on him. The closer he walked toward the mansion, the colder the air became, though no breeze stirred. His steps crunched against the gravel path, too loud in a world that felt otherwise dead. When Elias reached the mansion gates, rusted iron and half collapsed, he hesitated. For just a moment, he felt the undeniable sense that he was being watched. But his pride pushed him forward. He pushed the gate open with a long screech, the sound echoing into the trees. The mansion loomed before him, its shape monstrous against the crimson-lit sky. Inside, the air was thick, damp, and suffocating. His lantern barely pierced the darkness, and every flicker of the flame seemed to be swallowed by shadows that moved on their own. The wooden floorboards groaned beneath his weight, each sound magnified in the emptiness of the house. Elias wandered deeper, feeling as though unseen eyes followed him from every broken corner. Then he found the stairs leading down. The basement. His lantern flickered violently as if warning him not to proceed. The air grew colder with each step, his breath now visible in white puffs. He reached the bottom and froze. There it was, the coffin. Its lid had been pushed aside, the inside empty. Before Elias could move, he heard it, a sound behind him. Slow, deliberate footsteps, echoing in the silence. His skin prickled, his heart racing as he turned, the lantern trembling in his shaking hand. In the far corner, something moved. A tall figure stood shrouded in shadow, its outline too still, too wrong. Elias tried to speak, but his voice broke. The figure stepped forward. His face came into the dim glow of the lantern, unnaturally pale. Lips curled back just enough to reveal sharp fangs that glistened in the light. His black eyes locked onto Elias, and in that gaze was something ancient and merciless. "You should not have come here," the vampire whispered, his voice low and rumbling, as though it carried the weight of centuries. "The blood moon awakens me, and it demands a sacrifice." Elias stumbled backward, his lantern swinging wildly. Shadows danced across the stone walls, distorting the creature's shape. He tried to run, but his body wouldn't obey. The vampire moved faster than his eyes could follow, appearing before him in an instant. Cold hands gripped his shoulders, impossibly strong, pulling him close. The smell of iron filled the air. Elias struggled, but the vampire's strength was overwhelming. His fangs gleamed inches from Elias's throat. Then, with a sudden motion, they sank into flesh. Elias's scream echoed through the crypt, but outside, no one heard. The mansion swallowed the sound whole. Hours later, silence returned. The vampire stood tall, his strength renewed, his eyes brighter with unholy hunger. Elias lay pale and lifeless, another victim lost to the blood moon. But this time, the vampire did not return to his coffin. He walked out of the mansion for the first time in centuries, his figure slipping into the forest, heading toward the village. At dawn, the villagers found the mansion silent once again. But Elias was gone. His lantern lay shattered near the basement stairs, his footprints ending abruptly at the coffin. Whispers spread like wildfire. Some claimed they saw a pale figure walking through the trees at sunrise, his eyes dark, his expression empty. The elders knew what this meant. The blood moon had broken the seal. The vampire was free once again, and he would not stop at one. The warnings had been true, and now their village was marked. Every red moon would bring death, every night an echo of the past, until he had taken what he desired. And as the sun rose that morning, the villagers locked their doors and prayed. But they all knew deep inside that no lock, no prayer, no barrier would stop what had been awakened. The blood moon would rise again, and so would he. If you enjoyed this terrifying story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more true horror encounters. Your support keeps these nightmares alive, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.